welcome to my studio. So I had something kind of exciting happen. I got an email from a company called Benici, and they sent me a message asking if they could sponsor one of my videos. I was so excited because I only have about 1.3 thousand subscribers, I think, and which is awesome. It's a lot, and I'm so excited about it. But I thought to get a sponsor, you needed like 20,000 or 100,000. I was shocked to have somebody reach out to me at such an early, number of subscribers. I always promised myself, and I told my kids, told my boyfriend Christian, if I ever get to the point where I start getting offers to have sponsors, that I wouldn't be a sellout. I wouldn't just accept anybody that wants to sponsor me just to make a little bit of money, because it's not that much money really. Anyway, I asked if I could try the product out first and maybe do one of my regular tutorials and check out the product and say all of my likes and dislikes and just be completely honest. By the end of the video, I would send it to them first, and if they approve it, then they can pay me. And if they don't, if they don't like what I have to say, then they don't have to pay me. So it doesn't hurt them unless, well, I guess it could hurt them if I say really bad things, but I'm just gonna be honest, and I'm just gonna go through it and see if I like these products. I'm gonna use them on this next tutorial. So the package came, I'm gonna open it up with you, and oops, I just lost an earring. My earrings are always falling out. Okay, so it's a pretty box. Oh, I forgot it comes in a carrying case. This is nice. So let me tell you a little bit about it first. So it comes with a set of 16 brushes for $13.97. It's free shipping, 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked. This carrying case alone is fabulous. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. So let me show you what I carry my brushes in right now. Where's that? So I go to my boyfriend's house on lots of weekends. There it is. And I lug all my supplies back and forth. This is what I'm carrying my brushes in. It's got all my pencils and my brushes in there. Poet bit a hole in there. He likes to chew on my brushes. So that's not the best way to bring your brushes back and forth, but that's what I'm using right now. So nothing else. This case is gonna come in really handy. In all my tutorials, I just paint with 4 brushes. So I use a 1-inch flat wash brush, a 5/8 angular brush, number 8 filbert, and a little number 2 round brush. So I always use these same 4 brushes to make it easy for my viewers to do their tutorials, so they don't have to go out and buy 50 million brushes. I think it has all the same brushes that I have, but first let's go through all this stuff. Okay, so it comes with a sponge. Oh, this company, when I was researching them, they sell art supplies, paints and brushes, and they sell face paints, which I don't do much face painting, but their Instagram page has some of the coolest face painting photos on there that, Halloween's coming up. Check that out if nothing else. There are so many cool, I'll put some photos, I'll attach some photos in the link, but there's like this really cool unicorn one and some like creepy ones. There's a lot of cool stuff. I've always wanted to dress up for Halloween and do like a really cool face painting, like a Day of the Dead thing or something like that. So maybe this year I'll try it. So I bet that sponge would come in handy for like getting the base on there. This is a palette knife. I've been wanting to get a palette knife. They're not expensive, but I just haven't gotten one. I've been wanting to do some paintings with some palette knife technique, so maybe I will do that on this tutorial. We'll see. Okay, I'm excited about that. So 16 brushes. That is an amazing deal. When I buy just these 4 brushes, I probably spent 16 bucks, maybe 20 bucks on all 4 of these. These aren't that expensive, but a round brush, a big one. I don't see a 1-inch flat wash, which is what I like to use to do my background. There's 2 angular brushes here. The one I usually use is a 5/8 angular brush. This one's a little bit smaller, that one's a little bit bigger, but I could totally work with those. Pretty good quality. I'm actually surprised. I was researching them and I saw $13.97 for 16 brushes and a carrying case. I forgot it came in the carrying case. I was worried that these brushes weren't gonna be very good. At the very end of the video, I will let you know if the company approved my video. I don't know if this video is being sponsored by them or not. Stay tuned till the very end to see if I end up liking them and they sponsor me. It would be nice to actually make money at this channel. Hopefully one day that'll happen, but for now I'm just really loving doing this and All of your comments and feedback are what keep me going. Like when I find out that I'm helping you with your paint skills and you send me these amazing messages and send me pictures of the paintings you did, I just love it. I would love to just do this full time, but I have to make a living and work, so that's why I don't put out as many videos as I would like to, because they're very time consuming. Okay, so then, oh, there's a little liner brush. I've been wanting to get one of these. Okay, this will come in really handy. Ooh, so I haven't decided which tutorial I'm gonna do yet. I'm thinking of doing a palm tree tutorial, and I have 2 different ideas. This would be perfect for one of them. You already know which tutorial I'm doing because by the time you see this, I will have edited everything. This brush will be perfect for that. Bunch of little tiny brushes. So this one is just like the 2-inch round brush that I usually use. This one, actually, that might be better than the one I have because it's a little bit stiffer. These bristles on all these brushes are really nice because they're soft, but they're stiff at the same time. So that's gonna be a good brush. I'm gonna put that aside. Brush. I'm gonna use those angular brushes. And just some other brushes here. This one, I probably won't use that one, to be honest. I don't really like long bristles. They just kind of bug me. There's some loose hairs coming out of that. So I'll probably never use that one. So this one, I'm gonna give it to Poet. Likes to chew on my brushes, which I don't allow him to do, but sometimes he sneaks them. This is a really cool casing. Oh, what is this? Standable case. Oh, it's a standable case and organizer. Behind it. Oh, here we go. So there's a little Velcro strip here. You fold this back. Oh, look at that. Okay, that's pretty cool. I like that. That's good. Poet's enjoying the brush. These are not dog proof. He's chewing it up real good. Yeah, you know what? That's not good for you. I hope you enjoyed it while you had it. Party's over. Here, have a treat. Good testing. Okay, so it's Poet approved. Not good for dogs to chew on. So, hopefully they work out. If they don't, they don't. That's fine. I don't care if I don't like them. I'm gonna be honest and I'm gonna tell you. Now I gotta figure out what we're gonna paint. Let's get started. So this one is an easy sketch. You're just gonna draw a circle a little bit left of the center and a little bit above the halfway mark. And then the trunk is gonna angle down towards the bottom left corner. Make sure it's much wider at the base and get skinnier as it goes up towards the circle, so that perspective is really pushed. So I am trying out the number 15 Benici filbert brush. You can use your 1-inch flat wash if you're using the regular brushes that we use in most of my tutorials. Any wide brush will do. And you're just gonna mix up some blue and some white. You can do any shade of sky that you want. It really doesn't matter. Just get your whole canvas covered. Now we're gonna mix up a dark brown shade. So you're gonna take some yellow, a little bit of magenta, and a little bit of blue. We're gonna make it really dark. And we're gonna paint the whole trunk. Forgot to mention I'm using the Benici, the smaller angled brush, but you can use your 5/8 angular brush if you paint with me regularly and that's the brush you have. That one will work too. Next we're going to mix kind of an orangey mustard brown color. We're going to be creating the shoots of the palm fronds, the spines. So you're just going to take a bunch of yellow, a little bit of magenta, and then you will add a little bit of blue into it, or some of that dark brown, and just make a mustardy warm color. Doesn't have to be an exact shade. This is gonna just be the first layer. So when you lay out the spines of these palm fronds, you want to do it in like a sunburst pattern, fairly evenly. Use the very tip of the brush and just do really skinny lines to start with. Make sure you clean off your brush really well if you were mixing the paint with the same brush you're using, because you don't want it to be too fat and thick and full of paints. So now we're going to thicken up each of these spines at the base. If you take the tip of your brush and just push down a little bit right at the base, and then you'll lighten up and drag it out to thin it out as you get about halfway down. normally I would use my number 8 filbert brush for this next part, so if you have that brush, go ahead and use it. But I am going to use the number 12 Benici brush instead, and we'll see how this goes. So since it's not a filbert, I'm going to take the tip of it and smash it down to give it more of that rounded filbert-like tip. And we'll see how this works out. So right over the base of each of these palm frond spines, we're just going to do a little smudge around the whole circle. So we're going to mix up another shade similar to the color we made for the spines, kind of a mustardy, orangey color. You're going to take a big scoop of yellow, a little bit of magenta, and a tiny bit of blue, and a touch of white so it's not so transparent. And then we're going to add little smudges around the base of that circle. And these are going to be, you know, like when they chop off the palm leaves, it leaves a little stump. So that's what we're going to be creating. So you want to use the flat, wide part of your angular brush and just create these sort of long, white smudges. And you want to do it in a pattern, kind of like a brick pattern. So you'll do one row, and then kind of in between where those smudges are, you'll put another one sort of in between the blank space, and just do 2 or 3 rows of that. Then you'll take that same color using the same brush, use the little pointy, tippy part of your angular brush, and you're just going to do a little swipe of color on each of those spines. Then I'm going to go back in with some of that original dark brown color, and I just want to darken up the whole trunk and make it nice and solid. Now we're going to mix a orangey brown shade, a little more on the orange side, and we're going to create and the brush you want to use is one with a skinny tip. So I'm using the Benici smaller angular brush. You can use any angular brush or even like a small liner brush. You just want to make sure you get a really skinny tip. So you want to start at the base, and you want this to be rounded like a little rainbow shape right at the top, because you want this tree to feel like it's smaller at that far end and wider at the base. So you really want that to curve around to create that shape and form. And so just use the very tip of your brush, start at the top, and you're just going to do little curved arches going all the way down the trunk. You want to make sure these curve from that left side, wrapping all the way around to the right side. Now you're going to add a little bit of white to your mix and do the same thing. Go all the way down the whole trunk, adding lighter shades, more orangey shades. Just do a whole mix. Now take your brush from that right side and wrap it around towards the left side. You want this to look very textury and bumpy, so we're going to have a whole bunch of these lines. You can add a little bit of yellow to your mix just to change the color up just a little bit. You want lots of different colors in this. But we're going to keep the brighter colors on the left side of the trunk. And we will go in later and kind of darken up that right side, but if you're thinking about that ahead of time, just keeping it a little brighter on that left side, that'll be advantageous later. Now we're going to use that orangey color, and we're going to do little dabs. You can use the tip of your pointy brush, or if you want to use your filbert, just any small little brush. We're going to be creating almost like little dots. And these are the same thing. When they trim a tree and the branches get cut off, it leaves a little stump or a little nub behind. So we're going to just create the implication that that's what these are. Start at the very base at the top of that trunk, and you're just going to do like little dots around the edges, and then you'll offset the next round of dots in between the spaces on each of these. Again, like in that brick pattern kind of a formation. And make sure you're curving it around so it really gives the feeling that you can feel the form and the curve at the base of the tree up there. or the top of the tree. Now we're going to use the same color and just tap on each one of those larger stumps that are above these little tiny ones, just to give it another level of color. And you can use the side of your angular brush. That one's perfect for this. So I am switching to my number 4 Benici brush. You can use any small round brush for this. And we're going to make a lighter shade. We're going to use that orange shade, add some white and some yellow just to brighten it up, make it a little bit lighter. We're going to do little highlights on those little parts that we just added. And then with that same color, we're just going to tap on a few little areas on the left side of the trunk to brighten up that edge as well. And we're just going to do little dabs here and there to really start building up all that texture. So we're going a little bit brighter here, added a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow, and we're going to start adding some skinny lines and streaks, and make sure when you do these they're going to really curve. You want to just use the tip of the brush, make these nice and skinny, and make sure they're arching around that trunk. So we're going to take our tiny brush, and with that light bright highlight, we're just going to tap on a few of those little areas up at the very top of the tree. Just a little tiny smudge, and you want to keep these brighter ones more on the left side, so it looks like the sun is hitting that left side. And then right on the right side of the trunk, you're going to do a few highlights so it looks like the sun is peeking around that other side and just hitting right underneath there. So I'm using my number 12 Benici brush, the smaller angle brush. We're going to mix another color. Take a big scoop of yellow, a little bit of magenta, and add a teeny bit of blue to make a brownish orange shade. And we're going to add little fuzzy hairs at the base of each of the palm frond spines. So you can switch to one of your tiny brushes. I'm using the smaller round brush. And we're just going to flare out little tiny hairs all around the whole outside edge. So now we're going to start adding the green to the palm leaves, and we're going to start off by mixing a very bright green. Now normally when I'm painting leaves on a tree, I'll start really dark and then I add lighter and lighter and lighter highlights. But in this case, since the sun is sort of behind the tree, shining down through it, and we're looking underneath, what we're going to see in the front are the darker leaves because they're going to be in shadow. So we want to do the bright ones first because we want them peeking out from behind. So you can use any small round brush for this part. I'm going to actually try out the liner brush from Benici, and we'll see how this one works. So dip a little bit of that paint onto your brush, and then what I like to do is spin my brush and drag it across to make that point nice and sharp. And then you're just going to start adding a ton of tiny little leaves, and they're just going to make sure that they're touching your spine and all going in the same direction. Just make sure they're angling in that direction. So you don't want them to come straight out from the sides. They're all going to follow in the same pattern, and then you'll do the opposite way on the opposite side. This is going to take a long time, so be patient and take your time with it. Then every once in a while you might just need to twist your brush again to keep it nice and sharp and pointy for you. So I decided to switch brushes from the liner. I'm going back to the number 4 round from Benici. The liner brush, it was working great, but the bristles are so long that I feel like they got a little too bendy. And for this particular painting, doing these sharp little bristles, these sharp little leaves, the tighter bristles are better. So they're both great brushes so far, but for this particular plant, I'm really liking the round brush better. There's Brielle. Oh. Hi. Are you out? Are you going to Ava's or anything today, or you need a ride?
No, I'm at the spot.
You're at the spot. Okay. I'm right in the middle of filming. Let me just finish this last palm leaf, and then I'll come get you. Okay. So I'll leave here in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. I love you. I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Let me just hurry up. We're almost there. All right, I gotta go pick up Brielle from school, and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. So I think I want to add a few more of these spines, looking a little bit too sparse. So I'm gonna take a little more of that warm kind of mustard color, and we're just gonna add in a few more spines. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space on this right side just so we have a little bit more of the sky showing through, and it'll just make the design more interesting. So after this, we need to add the green leaves to those spines that we just added. So mix yourself up some bright green and go ahead and add those now. Now we're going to mix the dark green, take a big scoop of yellow, a little bit of blue, and then add a tiny bit of magenta to make it extra dark. Now I'm taking my little tiny brush. You can use your number 2 round. I'm using the number 4. And we're going to do the same exact thing we did with the bright green little leaves, but we're going to add the dark green ones now. We're going to keep it along, mostly along the whole right half. And you can just do them right on top of the bright green, in between. Just pretend like you don't even see those bright green ones, because we do want some of those peeking through, but we don't want to completely cover them. So now we're going to mix kind of an olive green color. So you'll take some green, a bunch of yellow, and a little bit of magenta. That's what's going to warm it up. And we're going to add more leaves along the bright half, so that whole left side. We want this color to be darker, but a little more on the warm side since the sun is really hitting that side. Now we're going to darken up that right side even more. So you want to just mix a dark purple, take some magenta and some blue, and some green together. So you're going to start off by just adding a bunch of these skinny little leaves on there. Make sure they're going in that same direction as the other ones. And you can use your angular brush using just the very tip of it, or if you preferred using your small round brush, whichever one you liked using better will work just fine. And then use your angular brush. We're going to take some of these leaves, we're going to darken up one half of the palm frond. So by using the flat wide side of your angular brush, we want to cover up the light that's shining through the base of some of these leaves. So you want to go right along the spine, making it nice and dark. Make sure you don't cover up the spine, and just kind of thicken up the base of it. And then flip your brush around the opposite way, so you're using just the tip of the brush, and create a bunch of those skinny little leaves. So on some of these you can do this on both sides. On some of them just do it on one side, but you will create those darker leaves, the little skinny leaves, on both sides of all of the dark dark side of the tree. So the whole right side of the tree, you're going to add a lot more of these darker leaves. And then you'll just kind of pick and choose which ones you want to make a little bit darker along the spine. So the best way to do this is just paint a stripe along each side of the spine, or one side, whichever side you're working on, and then kind of flick your brush out. Make sure it's very thinned out so it's not too solid. Flick your brush out to kind of soften up that edge so you don't see that strong stripe, and then add the little skinny leaves after that. We want to keep the bulk of the darker side over here, but let's just add a few of these darker skinny leaves to a few of these strands over here. I'm going to add a little bit of that darker to the base of each of these. Let's make these a little bit wider. I think that'll look good. Just like on one side, you know how we started one side and did a little shadow? If you have some of that purpley dark green mix, just make these a little bit wider at the base so they have more of a tapering in sort of thing going on. So dark right at the base, and then taper them in. Any dark shade you have on your plate will be fine. Doesn't have to be a perfect color mix. Just want it darker so it's in the shadow. That side. I'm going to take a little brown mix. Mustardy brown, any shade of brown. More orangey. And add a little bit to the right, to the opposite side. So if you're making it wider by going darker on that side, do a little brown mix and make it wider on the opposite side. Some of these aren't even going to show much. Oops. You don't want it too bright in there because I'm gonna keep that kind of dark. But this side's starting to get lighter, so let's add a little bit to that side. Orangey brown mix. A little bit lighter at the base. And some of these are behind it. So these two will be in front. And those are behind. So you don't need to worry about those because they won't even show the base of them. So let's get a little bit more orangey, like some yellow, some magenta, and if you have brown on your brush, that's even better. Just make those a little bit wider on the opposite side from the dark. Now we're going to flip because the shadow side's on the bottom. So this will be on the top. A little bit wider. Okay, now we can go down here. Add just a little bit of this lighter color on the left side. So it looks like maybe the light's sneaking in and catching a little bit of each of those sides. more yellow. Let's add a tiny bit of white. That was a lot. Put a little more magenta, a little more yellow, tone that down a little bit. Just kind of mixing whatever's on my brush. Take a little more yellow. I'm running out of space. Oh man, I have blue on my brush. Do it right there. A little bit of magenta. So we got kind of a warm, we want it like a warm mustardy color. That'll probably work. And you can use the tip of your brush or you can use your little tiny brush. And you're just doing a little swipe on the left side of these, the spines. You might need to add a teeny bit of white because it might not show up very well. I was just thinking how that brush isn't doing me very good. I was using my old brush. So that's usually my favorite brush of all time, and I was just thinking, oh gosh, that's not working very well. Didn't even realize it's my favorite brush I always use. Let's go back to the Benici. Put a little bit of that highlight color. See, this brush really holds its shape well, that little point. That's actually a lot better. Yeah, I like this brush. A little more yellow. You want lots of different colors, so if it's kind of like an orangey color, that's good. Just want lots of warmth to it, so a bunch of yellow is good. So I just mixed up kind of an orange color. Let's do little bits of that here and there. Okay, now we can add a little more white and yellow. Get lighter. And just add a few little swipes. Keep these bright ones on this side. I'm gonna add more yellow and some white. So you want some of these to overlap in front of the ones behind it. That'll make it have more dimension and depth to it. Oh, there's Brielle. Oh, it's 4:45. Okay, you ready to go?
Yep.
I'll be right down.
Okay.
Okay, off to gymnastics. Darn it, I want to get this done before I left. Okay, well, I might have to finish this tomorrow. Not that you'll know the difference because it will all be in one video for you, but I get very impatient. I like to finish something. I like to start something and finish it. I don't like working on something for days on end. I get frustrated when I can't get it all done right in one sitting. So I'm adding just a little tiny hint of color to the edges of some of those shadows. Okay, well, it's gotta stop for now. I'll be back. And I'm back. So I was looking at it and I feel like I need to extend some of these leaves off to the edges. They look like they're just kind of chopped off, like I was afraid to go to the edge. So if you did that same thing, mix up some of the darker green shade and then just add some extra leaves so they go right off the edge of the canvas so they don't look like there's a border around it. Now we're going to brighten up the left side of the tree by mixing a lighter, brighter green than the bright green that we started with, and add a little bit of white to it to make it that much brighter. And then just add these all along that whole left side where the sun is hitting the tree. And I took a little bit of this same color and drug a little bit of that right along the spine of each of the palm fronds. Just a very thin, washed out, just to add a little bit of green to each of those spines. Then mix up some white and some yellow and add a brighter highlight, and you're going to do even fewer of these. You just want little bits here and there, just where maybe the sun is peeking in and shining extra bright on a few spots. Now we're going to create a shadow color, so you're going to take a scoop of blue and a scoop of magenta to make a purple color. And you want this on the warmer side, which means you're going to have a little extra magenta, less blue. And you want to water this down quite a bit. We're going to be creating a wash, so we can just go right over the top of our work and it won't completely cover it up. It's just going to tone it back and make it a little darker and add more life to it by having another color brought into it. So you're just going to take your angular brush. I'm using the Benici number 12, and you can use your 5/8 angular if that's what you have. And you're just going to make sure you're going to start on the far right side and you're going to curve it around just about halfway. And you're just creating streaks just like you did with all those light highlights. Anywhere where you see the dark areas, you're just going to do a light wash with this purple wash right along the areas where the dark is. So up here at the top of the tree, we're just kind of coating over that whole right half that's in shadow. Now we're going to add a little bit of white and a little bit of blue to the mix to make a light periwinkle shade. And we're going to do the same thing with blue and white, the same as the sky color. And we're just going to add streaks on the trunk and at the top of the tree. Same thing like we did with the dark purple, but with these two shades. Now we're going to make an orange shade, yellow, magenta, a little bit of white, and we're going to brighten up some of these highlights that are on the left side of the tree. You'll go a little bit lighter by adding more yellow, and then a little lighter by adding more yellow and white. Getting brighter and brighter as you go. Then make the brightest highlight right towards the top of the tree, right up there at the base of it. Just really pump it up with some really bright highlights. Just a few little smudges, that's all you need. So it looks like the sun is hitting that brightest spot. Now just go around and add little brightness here and there wherever you think it needs it. Now it looks like it's almost done, so what I like to do here is take a photo of it, because when you're viewing it face on and you're staring at it, it's hard to see details. But if you take a picture of it and you look at it through a camera lens, you can really catch a lot of things that you don't see when you're staring directly at it. So as I'm looking at it, I'm feeling like the whole left side of the tree needs to be a lot brighter, so there's a lot more drama. So I'm going to go back in, mix an even brighter shade of green, and add bright leaves to that whole left side, and then a little bit on those palm fronds that are right to the right of the trunk as well, so the sun's peeking around the corner from the tree. And then on the very tips of some of the leaves, just choose random ones. You can get a little brighter right on the very ends. And if you have a whole lot of dark ones mixed in there, you can just kind of brighten them up a little bit too. So you eliminate most of the dark ones, but it's okay to have a few of them shown from behind. But overall, you want to brighten up most of that whole left side. And then on the right side, just pick a few little spots and brighten up here and there. But overall, try to keep that whole right side and that bottom area mostly dark overall. So I'm mixing up a warm orange shade now, and I'm going to add some layers of highlights right on top of all the other spots, just randomly here and there. I really like this brush. It's holding its shape so well. And I know it's the first time I use it, it's a brand new brush, but so far, I'm so surprised by these brushes. I mean, for the price and everything that comes with it, I don't know how they do that. It's a great deal, and they're good brushes. I really didn't expect it. So I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm just really grateful that they sent these to me, because I think I'm going to use these from now on. Then go ahead and take another photo, and then you can compare the last picture to this one, and you can see that whole left side is so much more dramatic and bright. It looks way better. So you can go back in and brighten it up even more if you want to. Okay, so I thought I was done, but then afterwards I was looking back at it and I felt like it needed just a little more dark and drama. So I mixed up a very watered down purpley shade, a little more on the warm side, and I just, anywhere where there was the dark shadows, I just did a light wash over all of those sections, just very thin so it's not too dramatic. And then once it dries a little bit less bold. And if you like it bolder, you can just add another layer. But as you can see, I just kind of went in just all the little sections that were darker, just a thin wash right over the top of those sections. And then what I did afterward was I cleaned off my brush, dried it off really well, and so just with a dry brush, I just sort of faded out any sharp lines that were showing. So today's artist that I'm featuring is a woman named Linda Sosa. She sent me the nicest message, and she said this hydrangea tutorial came at the perfect time because it pulled her out of her creative rut. She said she's not good at flowers, but I beg to differ here because these are amazing, and I loved how she did them a little bit looser than how my tutorial explained it, and I love these even better than my own. So you did an amazing job, and she did these for her mom. Her mom loved the painting so much, she did a set of 3 for her. And she's local to me. She's in Anaheim, California, just a few cities away from me. So thank you again so much for reaching out to me. I appreciate your feedback and your kind words more than you can ever imagine. So I hope you're still painting, and send me your next one. I'd love to see it. Hey, what are you doing? Give me that. Give me that.